Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning back to the Funny Business Podcast. If you're a listener of the show, thanks for coming back. If it's your first time, hopefully we can put a smile on your face. Obviously, it's been an interesting week going on in the country, but we hope everyone is staying safe. And Mike, I think I speak for the both of us that this is an anti-racism podcast.
Absolutely, Matt. We're certainly having conversations every day and researching some topics and some ways that, of course, we can become allies through that. There's certainly some books and movies that I want to read and watch. And, Matt, I'm sure there's been a lot of research that you've been doing. But we are a true anti-racism podcast. And, I hate to pull the words from a certain university, but really all are welcome to this podcast. And we really mean that.
Absolutely. And, we just hope to provide not a distraction, because that's probably not the right word to choose, but just a break from what's going on in the world. Hopefully we can put a smile on your face. And we're here to listen for anyone. If anyone ever wants to reach out, you can personally reach out to me personally. I've already had some discussions with some friends and family about the whole thing, and it's a good thing to talk about. But hopefully for this hour, we can provide you a little break from what's going on in the world and hopefully just put a smile on your face.
Certainly, Matt, and I think I can mirror what exactly you said. It certainly is great to have such the listenership that we have, and if you guys are listening to us, we will certainly listen to you guys. So that avenue is open for anyone. Matt, before we get started into our topics for today, I do have to mention it is a nice backdrop that you have with your video webcam at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to announce today, if you're listening on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Breaker, whatever that may be, thanks again for listening in and tuning into that episode. But starting today, this episode, you now can watch all of our episodes for free on our YouTube page. Yes, search Funny Business Entertainment or Funny Business, and you'll certainly see the podcast. This will be the first official podcast. I think Matt and I both are like, yeah, we should probably start recording these like video-wise, and I feel like that'd be a good medium for people who aren't necessarily into podcasting, but are kind of interested in some of our topics and, some more visual sense of a show.
Yeah, absolutely. We just keep growing and growing each week on how you can reach us. And yeah, it made me, I have to record in my room for those who can't see, just because of the way my house is laid out. And it got me to clean my room today, so that was a plus.
Some quarantine tasks that you said you would originally do back in the first month, but now you're doing it
on
the
first
half.
podcast. I literally said, yeah, I'm going to clean my room. And today, finally, that happened. So thanks.
You got it, Matt. So let's just jump into today's topics for today, our first half of our entertainment for today. Matt, I know you and I are both we do enjoy a nice cold beverage after a very long day. But certainly when it comes to COVID-19 and the coronavirus, there's certainly some things to celebrate, especially if you are the fortunate ones to survive the coronavirus. And the story we got today as our first topic is a 103-year-old beats the coronavirus. Her first act, ladies and gentlemen, give me a beer.
This is the best story that's come out of quarantine by far.
I have to agree. So this was reported literally everywhere, Matt. I don't think there's one news outlet that did not cover this story, but we're going to pull this from the HuffPost. Jenny Stenjna is a 103-year-old ready to hear this, Matt? Great grandmother.
Wow.
In Massachusetts. She celebrated defeating the coronavirus as obviously the best way possible by knocking back a cold one. Matt, I think any time when it comes to this certain situation, I know thankfully we are almost coming up on the end of the coronavirus COVID-19 quarantine, stay at home, do your groceries once a week, stay away from restaurants and only do takeout or delivery. But, I feel like this is a really good feel story about Jenny as far as her coming up and beating the coronavirus.
No, absolutely. And, usually the stigma is if an older person catches coronavirus, it's usually not too good. So it's nice to see that she survived. And I think the drink was a Bud Light. Is that correct?
It is certainly, Matt, not my drink of choice, obviously, unless it's a Bud Light Orange.
Yes,
I have to agree with that.
Bud Light's not too bad. Obviously I would prefer like a Miller Lite if I'm just going regular domestic. But Bud Light's pretty similar. I can enjoy a good Bud Light once in a while. But no, I don't think like that's just a badass way to badass thing to do after you beat coronavirus. Just pound a beer.
Yeah, and just some of the comments that we've been just reading amongst this article here. She always had that feisty fighting spirit, which is her granddaughter Shelley. She really didn't give up, and Matt, I really think this is a really good feel story as far as somebody coming up and being a part of just the success that some of our nurses and our doctors and all those people that are in the front lines kind of sitting back and celebrating, of course, this tremendous achievement of surviving the coronavirus.
No, absolutely. And I think it shows those hope in anything, no matter what you're doing, no matter how old you are or how bad things seem. You never know what's going to happen. And you just got to have faith that you can get through it. Now, I do have a question for you on this topic. So obviously you had a Bud Light.
Yes.
What's the one beer that if let's say you were in this position, you were, 103 and you survived coronavirus and you said, I want a beer right now. And someone offered you a beer. What's the one beer you wouldn't take?
Wouldn't or would?
Yes, wouldn't. So the one that you'd say, you know what, I'll wait like 15 minutes to grab one.
I'll die first before I drink this.
Not that, but like, I can do something else to celebrate. What's the one beer that you wouldn't take?
See, Matt, we have to be careful because you don't know about the sponsorships that are going to come along our way, and they'll be like, "Well, we'll did say this during your podcast." I'd have to say Budweiser. I'm just like I know, like, I love the commercials, I love all these, but like just Budweiser was not a thing for me as far as I know. You're talking about brands, or are you talking about like just types of beer?
Just any brands. Probably the one brand you would pick.
I wouldn't mind a sour beer, believe it or not. Like if I had to choose, like I honestly love sour beers, especially. I hate to open up to this, but like a fruity sour beer. Like I've certainly been exposed to some really good sour beers and some really good like fruit beers. But yeah, Budweiser not so much. What about you?
I'd probably say Michelob Ultra. It's just I know it's like a lighter beer, but it just doesn't have a lot of taste for me personally. I feel like Miller Lite, Bud Light would at least give me a little more like enjoyment out of drinking it. But I don't know, Michelob Ultra just doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I mean I think honestly, if you get done beating the coronavirus, literally any cold one will do. I think, if I'm being completely honest here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, if we were to be picky, because obviously, like, I would take anything at that point, but I would prefer one that I actually like.
Yeah, and even so, I mean, we certainly are sharing this as a good story. There certainly was some things that we're talking about as far as the reporting. So Adam, who is Shelley's husband, which would be the granddaughter of Jenny, saying that Stenja's battle got so bad that at one point he asked if she were ready to go to heaven, and her reply was hell yes. So like wow. Talk about badassery. I mean, she was even more ready to go to heaven than she was kicking a cold one. So.
Yeah, that makes it even more awesome though that she survived it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where we're at this situation right now where it's just like, I don't care what happens. I just want to enjoy at least what I have left of my life, or what is a part of my life. So I certainly, as far as what Bud Light would say, this Bud's for her. So it's, certainly a nice little story for us to kind of kick off and kind of feel good. Because, I think anyone, whether it be your great-great-grandmother, your grandmother, your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your brother, or your stepbrother, stepsister, whatever it may be, surviving the coronavirus is something to be cheering about. And in most occasions, if you're legal, having a cold one.
There's never any event that can't be celebrated with a cold one, if we're being honest.
Baptisms, first Holy Communions,
first T-ball game as a parent,
first T-ball game, tailgating.
As a parent. What else?
We literally just went the deep end. We're like, yeah, like religious, anything involving kids.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything. So, Jenny, from all of us at the Funny Business Podcast, congratulations, and keep on keeping on with the. But like maybe Matt, that actually is the reason why she's 103.
It could be. Honestly, it could be. And we hope you have a rest of the healthy life, and hopefully it's a long one.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to our next topic, Matt, a little bit more on the biz side of things. I certainly kind of want to talk about our feedback as far as, I don't want to say running a media company, but that's kind of who we are technically as a media company. We live stream, we do podcasts, we run social marketing as far as this funny business entertainment. But something that I think everybody would be familiar with, Matt, you are a huge fan of The Office, and one of the actors, Jim, as he's well known in The Office, is John Krasinski. John started a show back at the beginning of our quarantine days. Boy, that sounds really odd now, saying like beginning of our quarantine days.
Can you believe it's been like 3 months since we've been in quarantine? That's insane.
Hey, this is episode 7, so I think we're running as far as once a week. So I could see us as far as like the 2 months coming out. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
So anyway, back to Mr. Krasinski here. So he started a show, an online show called Some Good News. Basically, the show is dedicated to completely good news. It went on for 8 episodes with millions and millions of views. And Matt, I know this is, I don't want to say it's breaking news, but certainly news that kind of broke and a little bit of controversy in between, was the fact that Some Good News was actually bought by Viacom, or Viacom CBS is what it is formerly known as, acquired the license for the show after a massive bidding war, apparently. Some things are kind of a little gray because, the whole topic of Some Good News was the fact of bringing good news and, of course, this happy-go-lucky type of feel. But after this bidding wars, people are kind of speculating the fact that, so he's doing something for free and doing all these things, and now he got paid millions of dollars to sell the licensing to it. What was the true point behind that?
I don't necessarily agree with that. It's not like this is something that should be brought to a more national level, I feel like, because I didn't honestly tune into it. I saw highlights of it, but I didn't really know exactly how to tune in. And I feel like if a bigger network has something like this, a show that absolutely should be out there, because let's face it, if you turn on the local news right now, they're not going to talk about anything good. And a lot of times throughout the year, they focus on the bad news rather than the good news. So having this show that is solely focused on good news should be something on a national level. Now, is it his fault that he sold it? He's a busy guy. He's in a lot of stuff. I don't know if necessarily he could have kept doing it or if he would have had the funds to continue doing it. So I really don't blame him for what he did.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, you kind of featured the idea of, like, you saw highlights. They literally brought people like the Jonas Brothers, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Emily Blunt, and even the cast of The Office was on the show. But, Matt, I think it's kind of interesting for us that I think we can speak upon this side. He was, you were saying, like, it was free. There was nothing that was being paid for or anything like that. It was kind of just more of a hookup, being like, hey, like, I'm 100% sure John didn't pay the Jonas Brothers to come on to his show. Like, it was just more so like, hey, can you do this? Like, can you please do this? And, Matt, I think you and I both know, as far as working this podcast, it is not a simple, let's hit record and let's do this. Like, there's a lot of things that go into it. And, I kind of saw like some of the format of the show and what he does. And, I think for him, he was a one-man show. And I don't think, as far as a show to that caliber, where you're bringing A-list celebrities like Lin-Manuel Miranda or the cast of The Office, I can't believe I put those two together as far as A-list celebrities. Somebody from Hamilton, and then you can't forget, the cast of The Office that, still hasn't done a new show since, back when it was released. So, but it really, it shows the fact that there needs to be a team behind it, and there needs to be a paid team behind getting it done. Now, of course, obviously for us, we're technically not getting paid for this either, but the caliber that he's bringing it, I'm really sure that that's why he decided to take this route.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, like, we put a lot of work into this podcast, but it's someone for him who was trying to reach, a global audience, and, like you said, was doing it basically by himself. It had to be have put a lot of stress on him, and it's a lot of work to do. And after quarantine's over and we try to come back to living somewhat of a normal life, he's going to have, movie recordings and TV recordings to do, and he just might have not had the time for it. So it's something that I think he wanted to continue, and I think it's, he didn't want the show to end. Obviously, he only did 8 episodes, but he wants to show there was more good news out there, and if he can't do it, then he wanted someone else to. I don't think that's his fault. We shouldn't be focusing on the fact that he is getting paid for this. We should be focusing on the fact that this show is going to reach a larger audience than what he could have done and show the world the good news that's out there.
Now, Matt, I certainly can tag along with some of your statements that you said about the fact that, he can't just do it by himself. Could you imagine they start setting up the show, and instead of John looking for these individuals that need some good news, you now have a team of 5 people who are solely dedicated looking for good news. And then you have another set of individuals that are working on the production. You have another set that's working on the graphics and all these things, and really could be something good. And I hate to sound, punny there, but like it could be something really good and turn out to be. But I think, again, I feel like we can pick apart our podcast itself. Like, this podcast would not be possible if I didn't spend the time doing 30 minutes of me researching entertainment topics like this. Podcast wouldn't be possible if you didn't research your 30 minutes of searching for sports topics. Wouldn't be possible for the both of us working together, working with our social marketing and working together as far as sending each other the recordings and making sure all these things are well. So, we have each other, Matt, but I think with John, with, again, the caliber that he was bringing within, hey, later on in the show, we're going to be introducing another guest for our show. But, I wish to say it was like Steve Carell or, one like Nick Jonas, but we don't have that yet. Yet.
Keyword yet.
Yet. Sooner or later, we're going to have Will Smith, Stephen Colbert, and, Kate Upton, for all we know. Like, it's just...
No, but you bring up a good point with how he could have a team looking for good news. There was probably so many stories that he didn't get brought to his attention because he didn't have the right amount of people going out looking for the stories. If there's like 10 people that are able to go out and look for the good news, they can bring in so many more stories and so many more can get brought to their attention that can make the show that much better.
Absolutely, Matt. And I think it's crazy to think that for him to be looking at this some good news. I mean, when it comes to Ellen, like, to bring up Ellen in the Ellen show, it's crazy to think that there's a group of people who are looking for individuals that are deserving the kindness and the respect that Ellen gives for any foundations or anything like that. But you can't imagine one person doing the show, the research, the script, the cuts, the transitions, and the set itself, because I think he was using part of his home as far as him being a part of this production. But I really can't say that it's a bad move for him. It's honestly a really good move because it's certainly going to grow, and I think he started to see that as far as, oh, well, I think that we're going to be growing a little bit more, but I just can't do it on my own. And I really think he did take that direction.
Absolutely. I think what he wanted to do most importantly was show the good news. And I think during this move to sell it, he just wanted to make sure that could continue going forward.
Yeah, certainly, Matt. Matt, any final thoughts on, Matt, I know you are a huge fan of The Office. So
yeah, that was awesome when they brought the whole cast in and they just started all dancing together. It just made my heart like warm and gave me a good feeling because like it's the best show like I've ever watched. And I'll rewatch it on Netflix over and over and over again. So to see the reunion, because they've always had like rumors that they were going to come back for another season, which if they don't, this was a good way to get their band back together for the last time. So forth. But
yeah. And hey, you never know. They could be coming again. Matt, we've seen so many things lately that we're kind of like, anything could happen, really. So
that's a good point.
Now, Matt, we're going to move on to our final topic here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we usually share a Word document before the show, with the exception of our Take It segment. That actually, I had a question by one of our favorite audience members and was saying, does Matt actually tell you before the show starts if you take it? And I'm like, no, I literally find out when he asks me.
Yep.
But I decided to surprise Matt with this last topic. Again, with our last topic, it is an entertainment portion, so it's certainly not going to be something that's rocket science. I hope, Matt. I'm certainly going to be curious to see how you react to this.
I'm nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like the tables being flipped on me.
Now you know how I exactly feel. But literally, number 3, it says surprising you with this.
Yep.
Matt, I have a question for you.
Hopefully, I have an answer.
What has been your favorite memory of us?
Oh, I'm gonna cry. Wow, favorite memory. That's tough. I mean, we've had so much. I'm gonna get a little sentimental here.
Oh, good Lord! What? This is. See,
I'm not gonna cry.
See,
well, I'm gonna
I
tell myself
surprise.
I'm not gonna cry, but
I surprise you, and then it's like opening up a huge can of worms of being like, "Oh my God, what is he gonna say?"
There's just so much. I mean, we've known each other for like 6 years now.
Is that crazy?
I'm gonna say my favorite memory was after my graduation. I remember walking up to you as you were taking photos for graduation, and we just gave a hug.
What else is new?
We hugged each other, and it was kind of the last day that we lived together in the same house, and we just both said that we loved each other, and
Cheapers, man.
Something that was really special because like I always loved living with you and miss living with you, and something that I'll always remember.
Why the hell did I do this to myself?
Who the hell's cutting onions here?
Yeah. Virtual onions.
You will always be a friend. Always.
I think what's really funny about that day, Matt, is it was pouring rain, first of all.
My grad cap I still have it, and it's ruined. Absolutely ruined.
But I think what was even more hilarious was so we kind of like, I don't want to say like we parted ways, but like you kind of went home after graduation. Sorry, you actually went out to eat. I kind of got red leaf, and after that, because you had a whole lot of family, and I was just like, okay, like Matt, I'll see you soon. I know I'll see you soon. But I remember I didn't get our picture that we took until later in the summer. And I still have that. I was gonna say it's your contact picture, but I have a different contact picture for you. So
yeah, we don't need to discuss that photo. I don't even know what it is, and we just don't need to discuss it.
So yeah. So was it bad after all, Matt?
Was it bad? No, no, it wasn't too bad.
No.
What would be your favorite memory of us?
My favorite memory. So I actually didn't think about this until you started like saying about your memory, and I actually was very surprised you took that route as far as that being your favorite memory. But really, what I remember the most, Matt, and I think it's very small, but it's certainly something that just keeps very much ruminating inside my head as far as a memory book. Was the fact when we had our Darty. At the end of finals week. So again, not the Darty we planned back a couple episodes ago. It was this, run of the show. We had cornhole, we had spike ball, we had can jam, we had Domino's pizza. But what was really great was I just remember vividly that like work was done for me. I came back to my house. There's already people there. And like I didn't see you until I got into my tank top and shorts and I saw you, and there's 2 really good pictures of us, and I still have those pictures. One being outside, and we're like we just look like a bunch of dudes in tank tops. Like
that one actually is my contact photo of us,
right? And then there was another one that we took that we were sitting on our counter, like we were sitting on the counter, and it was another picture that we took. So it's probably the most pictures we took of each other that whole entire day.
I was gonna say I don't think I have that counter photo, so if you want to send that by way afterwards.
Well, would you look at that? It took us a year. It took us 2 years to finally figure that out. So
no, but it's definitely a hard choice. I mean, there's been so many.
I think what's crazy, Matt, is the fact of I feel like we could go a whole half hour just talking about like some of the stuff we experienced together.
We could make a whole episode about it.
You really, really could, but I don't think anybody wants to listen to some of the more intriguing things that we've went through as far as being friends. But it brings a good point. And for any of you that are listening, or whether you're in high school or you're in college, Matt and I did not start out as roommates as first years or freshman year. We did not start out at all, and we didn't find each other until our sophomore year. And it kind of was just more. I have to say it, Matt. It's more like fate than anything that we became roommates our sophomore year, and then it just seemed to carry on until, we're doing a podcast now together. So
yeah, who would have thought? But no, if you're listening to this, just cherish the memory with your friends, and you never know when you won't see each other as much as often. So just live life as to the fullest.
And then you have to do a podcast together. So
yes, absolutely.
you gotta go through all these things, and then you got to do a podcast after, and just totally go every single week. And that's how. There's two things that I always say that keeps our friendship together, Matt. It's doing this podcast and Fortnite,
and sending TikToks.
And sending TikToks. Matt, I gotta tell our audience that Matt and I are currently on a 154-day snap streak. That's solely TikToks.
Yep, every single day.
That's what friendship's all about, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Snap streaks.
Yeah. And TikToks.
And TikToks. TikToks, snap streaks, and Fortnite.
Yep.
That's the title of our book, Matt, when we finally write a book. Snap streaks, TikToks, and Fortnite.
It's gonna be a best-selling.
It's a tell-all. So when we come back, we are bringing on our guest for the sports topics, and Matt's going to take over those. Don't go anywhere. Matt, can you believe we're finally doing a podcast?
I know. I've been so excited to start one, but it seemed so easy for us to get started.
Actually, Matt, it was really easy. It was all because of Anchor.
Anchor?
Yes, Anchor. Anchor is by far the easiest way to get a podcast started. Anchor is free to anyone that wants to start a podcast. It's easy for beginners with the creation tools that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. We also have it nice that Anchor does all the work in distributing our podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms. Matt, we can even make money from our podcast.
Did you say money?
Yes, you heard me right, Matt. Money. We can make it with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Wow. I might want to start another podcast on my own soon.
That sounds like a great idea, Matt. You could do it today by downloading the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is anchor.fm. Now back to the podcast.
Alrighty, let's jump right into the sports segment for today. So we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to have one sports segment, but it's going to be a fun topic. So the last couple weeks, ESPN and mostly on First Take, they debuted their top 15 NBA primetime players ranking. So basically, they just listed the top 15 NBA players. It was a company-wide poll, so it wasn't just one person. So I thought what we would do today, since there's not a whole lot of sports news to talk about, is we would make our own top 10 current NBA players list. But unlike Mike's list where it's a group one, this one's going to be more individually based, and we're probably going to yell at each other. But Mike, we are not doing this alone. We do have a special guest with us today.
Yes, we do, Matt. Like we done a couple episodes ago, we had Emily Wenzel as our first guest. But today on the show, we are certainly having somebody who is, I guess he's special. I don't know, but he does help us out in some wins during Fortnite. I have to give him that much credit. But certainly a basketball player himself. If you ever seen him, he's only a freshman in high school, and people think he's older than that. My parents had to show birth certificates every time he had to play some tournaments because people didn't believe he was that age. So, but ladies and gentlemen, and the funny business world, please welcome my youngest brother, Trent, to the show. Trent, thanks so much for being on the Funny Business Podcast.
Yo, what's up? Thank you for having me. I'll help out anytime with those Fortnite wins. Yeah. I'm excited though. I got a good list going, I think.
So we'll start off with I'll list the top 10 ESPN list that they had.
Cool.
So number 10 they had Nikola Jokic from the
What?
Denver Nuggets. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
What?
I know.
Wait,
That was
we're
bad.
not
Nikola
arguing.
Jokic? Okay, all right.
No,
my
that's
bad,
a
my
that's a
bad.
We're not
group
arguing
argument
on
against
this.
them
No,
because that's
because
a bad
like
choice.
he's okay. Never mind. All
I
right,
agree,
I'm
but
good.
all right. So moving on. Moving on. Number 9, Damian Lillard. Number 8, Luka Doncic. Number 7, Anthony Davis. Number 6, James Harden. Number 5, Steph Curry. Number 4, Kawhi Leonard. Number 3, Kevin Durant. Number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And number 1, LeBron James. So I think we can agree, other than 10, it's a pretty decent list.
I feel like Anthony Davis should be up a little bit more, but
All
yeah,
right, so
that sounds pretty good.
So
Yeah.
what we'll do here is we'll each say our number 10 and then discuss if we have to, and then we'll go up from 9. So Trent, you're the guest. Who is your number 10?
Oh, I gotta go first.
Oh yeah,
All
you gotta
right.
go first.
I had a list of over like 30 people, so I had to narrow it down pretty hard actually. My number 10, I put RJ Barrett because I don't know why, I just like his play style, and he's a lefty too. So like lefties gotta respect the lefties. I like RJ. So
That's a hot take, but okay.
well,
I respect it. I respect it, but
Matt, what's your number 10?
I was between 2 players here. This morning I had Joel Embiid down, but I took him off the list, and I went with Pascal Siakam, the forward from the Raptors. Last year he was the most improved player of the year. Obviously won the NBA championship with the Raptors. First time All-Star this year. And really, this team wasn't supposed to be good after Kawhi left, and now they're the second best team in the East. And he's averaging career high in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks this season. So I feel like his numbers, if you look at his numbers from like his second year to now, it's like astronomically better. And I feel like he's an up-and-coming star that doesn't get the respect he deserves.
Now I'm going to throw everybody in a loop. So I had to ask. So first I got really confused with if this is the top 10 NBA players wrong answers only list.
No. And before we continue, if anyone says Alex Caruso, I'm leaving. Just a fair warning.
Mo Bamba.
No.
Taco. But I had to double check to make sure it's all current NBA players.
Correct.
So I had to feel like this was more of an honorable mention at number 10, but I had to put him at number 10. It's Vince Carter.
I knew it.
Certainly.
I got it. I called it. Right?
Vince certainly. I mean, Trent, you weren't even born yet when Vince was actually like doing what he was doing, but
I watched his highlights though.
yeah, so they're pretty sick. I mean, dunk, literally the one person that everybody compares when it comes to the dunk contest. But as far as him, like, certainly has left a good mark for the NBA, and I feel like him being at number 10 is certainly a good nod to him as far as his respect.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not the physical player he used to be. Also, a bit of a sad note. So today the NBA said they're coming back with 22 teams. And the Hawks did not make it, so that is the end of Vince Carter's career.
Ah,
yeah, I know.
That
He's
must suck.
the first player ever in history to play in 4 different decades.
That's crazy.
But yeah, we're off to a hot start. I'm not gonna lie, guys. All right, so number 9.
Trent,
Trent, who do you got for number 9?
All right. I'm not for number 9. I'm not really a personal fan of him, but I definitely like the way he plays. I have Paul George at number 9.
That's not a bad pick. I can see that.
I feel like a lot of people left him when he went to the Clippers. I don't know why. I just feel like when you think of Paul George, you think of Pacers, not Clippers. So I don't know. I definitely still like his game though.
My only knock
that's
against Paul George would be he can't play in the playoffs. At
Yeah.
all. But he is a really good player. Probably an underrated defensive player as well.
Yeah.
My number 9, I have Anthony Davis. Solely like he's a great talent, like top 5 talent probably in league, but he hasn't done anything. Like he did nothing with the Pelicans. He quit on the Pelicans last season. 7-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA. But he's probably the best not the best, one of the best defensive players in the league. 3 times all defensive NBA and 3 times block leader. But he just hasn't performed when he needed to.
My number 9 pick was Luka Doncic. Just because with him in the Mavericks and just when they were going through the rebuilding season. I mean, it's kind of hilarious that the Mavericks had to literally go through a rebuilding season immediately after they won the championship back in 2010, I think 2010
around 11. There 11, yeah,
around there.
Yeah.
Just for him to be a top contender now for the NBA. I certainly will see him. I think we all will see him in the next few years kind of contending for NBA playoffs and him becoming a really big asset to the Mavericks or wherever he goes. So
I agree. I think if he was on a different team with a better record, he'd be in the MVP conversation this year.
I feel like he's going to grow a lot too.
Yeah, and I mean, he's doing this stuff and he's only in the second year. It's insane.
I mean, he's even, like, I put him at number 9. Like, if he had a couple seasons on him and maybe a couple more experiences, like, I would put him up more on the list. But, I think number 9 is a good spot for him.
Let's move on to number 8. Trent, who you got?
All right. This one might be a little controversial, but I put Giannis Antetokounmpo. Okay.
Wow,
Hold on.
okay.
Let me okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, in my opinion, yes, he's really good. But for some times, I feel like he's on the edge. I feel like some days he can be overrated, but other days he's like insanely good. I'm not a big fan of him, but I like him though. So that's what I put.
I think that's fair. Definitely in the playoffs, they just clogged the lane against him, and he didn't really do a whole lot, so he does need to shoot. But that's fair.
Yeah, and I feel like if he gets more playoff and stuff, all that experience, he'll definitely be up on the list for me more.
Absolutely. My number 8 is someone who I think is the most underrated point guard in the league. I have Damian Lillard. Big time player. Also, I didn't realize this when I was looking it up, but he was the Rookie of the Year over Anthony Davis. I didn't realize that. Also a 4-time NBA All-Team, 5-time All-Star. Also, people forget that the Blazers played in the Western Conference Finals last year when they were like a 6 seed or something like that, or maybe they were a 3 seed. But he carried that team. That first round playoff victory against the Thunder when he hit like that 45 or 40-foot jump shot was just awesome. Yeah, because it was so awesome because he just was dribbling and you knew what he was going to do and he still made it.
He steps back.
And he also doesn't miss many games. I think the least amount of games he's played in the season was like 73. Mike, who do you got for number 8?
I have James Harden.
Okay.
I just simply, guy's a great player. Obviously, all these people that we're talking about are pretty good players, but I can't get over the fact that he hasn't won a championship yet. And, I think some people can say, well, Mike, that's, LeBron James didn't win a championship until years after he was, in the league. But I just think James Harden doesn't have that mindset for some of the players that I'm going to keep moving up in the list as far as him being, a top contender for at least the top 5. Great shooter, great dribbler. Not really the most in defense, but I just think that James Harden is a good player, but not the best player that I think, at least in my list.
That's fair. I think it's fair to say he's choked in the playoffs throughout his career. Number 7, Trent, who you got?
All right. I feel like this is a little oddball for number 7, but he's probably one of my favorites in the current. When the NBA was going on to watch, and I always like watching his highlights in the games. I have number 7. I have Brandon Ingram. I just like, I just like the way he plays, and he's like a tall. What is he, like 6'10", 6'11"?
Yep, I believe so.
And he can dribble good like a point guard, and I just like he's like smooth. Like I like him because he's consistent in a way with his game, and that's why I have him at number 7.
I'm not going to knock that pick because he has played a lot better since he went to New Orleans. I think he kind of needed to be in a place where he could be himself, and I don't think he was too comfortable in LA. I have a hot take for number 7. Maybe a hot take. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I have Steph Curry down at 7. Solely because we haven't really seen him play a whole lot. He
Yeah.
missed. I don't know. I don't think he came back at all this season. He was just about to come back, and then they canceled. But the last time we saw him was in the finals against the Raptors, and he didn't really perform like he should have. But I still put him on the list. 2-time MVP, the only ever unanimous MVP in 2016. 3-time champion, 1-time scoring and steals champ in a season in the same season. He's just, he's had injuries in the past, and he just hasn't performed great in finals. People forget he's never won finals MVP, and he's won 3 of them. Mike, curious to see who you have at 7.
I have Damian Lillard at 7. Everything's been said about Damian, so I don't think I need to repeat myself. But, I just think the cold-blooded that he is as far as playoff-wise, as far as the game-winning shots and all that. I just vividly remember him with those shots, and that's all I can go for is if he can get the ball in his hands and he can make a shot. It's probably what the context is.
Ice in the veins.
Oh, total
Really?
absolutely ice in his veins. Moving along, almost in the top 5. Trent, who do you have for number 6?
Number 6. I feel like once this guy came back from injury, he started going up and up. It's his first year, but I think he'll definitely improve a lot, especially with his team. It's another Pelicans player. I have Zion Williamson for number 6. He's a lefty again, but I just like the way he finishes and how strong he is underneath. Even though he's kind of like undersized for a power forward, he makes up with his vertical and all that.
I think that's a good pick. I mean, he dominated when he did play the 20 games that he played. So I don't hate that pick. Number 6, I have James Harden. I only have him above Steph Curry just because Curry was injured and has a little more injury history. But Harden, MVP. Also, people forget he won a 6 Man of the Year award with OKC back in 2012.
Without the beard.
Without the beard. Well, without the beard he has now. 2-time scoring champ. And last year he averaged 36 a game, which is just insane. But he does choke in the playoffs, which is why I don't have him in the top 5. Mike, your number 6?
My number 6, I guess the best way to explain him is I'm a fun guy.
Number 6.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard at number 6. For those who don't know, Toronto Raptors, now Los Angeles Clippers. I almost forgot where the Clippers were from, but there's a couple more on my list that'll explain a little bit, but I certainly think definitely above all the rest of the players that I mentioned previously. I just think he has a lot more opportunity to grow and actually become one of those top contenders.
All right, we're going to have some discussions later on.
Off this podcast.
Let's move into the top 5. Trent, who do you got to lead off?
Okay. Number 5, I have Kyrie Irving. I like, he's a finishing guard. I usually like people that have a good mid range and can finish the ball. I like they can shoot the 3, but they're more focused on finishing. And I think Kyrie didn't have an injury period where he was injured for a little bit. I feel like he's weird because for me he's like on and off. Like he has his good games and his bad games, like everyone else. But I feel like with the Cavs when he clutched up in that championship game, hit that 3 in Curry's face, I feel like that's why he should be number 5 for me.
I don't totally disagree. I don't have him on my list, but my only reason is because he hasn't proven he can do it like as him being the top guy. So like when he got drafted, obviously Cleveland he sucked, and then when LeBron came, they were good, and then when he went to Boston, they didn't really live up to expectations, and now he went to Brooklyn with Kevin Durant, who I have as my number 5. I got KD at 5. I don't have him higher just because I'm really concerned about his Achilles injury, because it's pretty tough to come back from. But I also thought it was interesting looking into research. He's only won 1 MVP. which is kind of similar to Kobe in a sense. Kobe only won one MVP himself. And you just think of this guy who's a great scorer, can basically do it all, only one MVP. Well, he does have 2 Finals MVPs, 2 All-Star Game MVPs, Rookie of the Year, 4-time scoring champ. If he wasn't injured, he'd probably be my number one, but I'm very concerned how he's going to come back from that injury. Mike?
Well, I guess Gumbeatas think alike because I had Kyrie Irving at number 5 too.
Hey.
So certainly just backing up what Trent was saying as far as his style of play. Nothing that is new needs to be said. It's certainly Kyrie Irving.
All right, let's move on.
Uncle Drew.
Uncle Drew.
Yeah. Number 4, Trent, who you got?
For this one, I have Russell Westbrook. Kind of the same play style as Kyrie Irving. More intensity in a way, but I just feel like Russell Westbrook and James Harden always had that connection, and now that he's on the Rockets with them, I feel like he's just a really good player in a way. He averaged a triple-double, and I like his game. So
He was playing really good towards before they stopped the season. He was like one of the best. He probably the best player in basketball for like the last month after the All-Star break. Number 4, I have Luka Doncic.
Okay.
Let's just take a look at his stats. So last year was Rookie of the Year, first-time All-Star, first teenager to record a 30-point triple-double. He is the franchise leader for the Dallas Mavericks in triple-doubles. He has 22 in 122 NBA games. So that's insane.
That is insane.
He has the NBA record of 20 straight games with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. The person who had the second most, you might know him. His name's Michael Jordan. He did that for 18 games.
Who?
I don't know who that is.
Who is that?
He was also the first player in NBA history to record 30 plus points, 12 plus rebounds, and 15 plus assists in a game with 30 minutes or fewer played. If he was on the Lakers, people would be saying he's best player in basketball. But because he plays in Dallas, he doesn't get the respect he deserves. In 5 years, if not earlier, he will be the best player in basketball. I think he's in a perfect situation in Dallas where players are going to want to play with him because he's good. No state tax in Dallas, so players can make the money. And Mark Cuban, as their owner, I think helps him. But as a player, there's no reason why he can't be in top 5. I know that's probably spicy, but...
Yeah, I had Giannis Antetokounmpo as my number 4. I really think he still has more time to develop as far as becoming like the Kobe Bryant or the Michael Jordan of the era. But I think some things were said previously amongst the both of us as far as Giannis. So Giannis is my number 4 pick.
It's a good pick. Trent, moving to the top 3, who we got?
All right. This one I feel like it definitely stays in the top 5 or 3. I have LeBron James number 3.
What?
Okay. Listen, hear me out.
like
Hear me out.
this.
No.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
hear me
No,
out.
I'm cool with
Hear me
it. I'm
out.
cool with it.
I'm just changing this up because I know, like, usually I would put LeBron at number 1, but for this time, I've kept him at top 3. I mean, it's LeBron James. I don't really think I have to say a lot, but he's definitely one of my favorite players to watch. So I have him at number 3.
I didn't expect that, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
My
I just
number
want to
3,
change it up a little bit.
absolutely. My number 3, I have Giannis. Not much to say other than he's the reigning MVP, and he only won Most Improved Player of the Year 2 years ago, and he's already an MVP, which is crazy. If he learns how to shoot, I feel like we're talking about Ben Simmons here, but if he learns how to shoot, he'll easily be the best player in the game. So, Mike, who you got at 3?
I have Russell Westbrook. Just his dominance with his triple doubles and just the fire season he went on when he was playing and in the Thunder, just averaging rebounds, steals, points, assists. Like, that man could literally do anything and everything. So I thought he was number 3, but I don't think he's a top player yet because he just hasn't won a championship as far as proving his stat line for that.
So you guys both have Westbrook in your top 5?
I do.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'd have him in the top 15.
Really?
Well, that's your opinion.
It is, but I mean, he hasn't done anything. Like, yeah, he gets points and he gets rebounds and he gets assists, but it doesn't turn into. It doesn't help. It's not helping his team.
Listen,
when he
if
was
I
with
was
the
playing,
Thunder, he averaged a triple double, and they were like the 8 seed. What did that do?
listen, if I had a game of pickup and I had Russell Westbrook as far as somebody being the person I'd pick him. Like,
Feed him the ball.
yeah.
All right, on to number 2, Trent. I'm very intrigued to see who you have.
Me too.
Okay. For number 2, I got the Claw, Kawhi Leonard. He's another guy like Kyrie Irving.
Fun guy.
But he's another guy like Kyrie Irving, but he's a forward. He's got a really good mid range, but can still shoot the three. I just like players that focus on that more. And his defense is crazy. I like the way his defense is, and he's just a top 5, top 6 player for me overall.
I like the pick. I have LeBron at 2. Yeah.
I'm so surprised. No, I'm joking.
Obviously, 4-time MVP, 3 times Finals MVP, 16 straight All-Star Game appearances, which he's close to the record for that. 3-time All-Star Game MVP. It was interesting. He only won the scoring championship once in a season, which I kind of think is kind of crazy because he's already 3rd all-time in points. And obviously, he's the all-time leading scorer in points. It was tough not to put him number 1, but I'll explain that when we get to number 1. Mike, who do you have for your number 2?
I have Kevin Durant. Matt, I can certainly agree with you. His Achilles injury will certainly kind of test his fate as far as what exactly happens to him these next few seasons. But just for what he's done in the past, from championships to MVP awards to throwing the dagger on some teams when it comes to last minute shots, I definitely feel like Kevin Durant is a number 2 as far as that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like I said, if he was healthy, he'd probably be my number 1. All right, Trent, you're number 1 top player in the NBA.
All right. It's all on me now.
Yep.
For number 1, I have Anthony Davis. You might say I'm a bandwagon because he came to the Lakers, but when I'm practicing and stuff, I base my game off of Anthony Davis because I just like how he can basically do everything. But I just like the way he plays and how he is, especially with LeBron too. They make a good duo, so that's why I have him at number 1.
They do. I don't think LeBron's ever played with someone like Davis. I would think maybe the closest he's come to was like Chris Bosh. But it's a bit spicy, but I like it. I like spicy. My number 1, I'm gonna go with the most fun guy in the league, Kawhi Leonard. People don't talk about this enough. He won the NBA championship with the Toronto Raptors. Now, the Raptors roster, he was the biggest change that they had. Now, yes, Pascal Siakam did become a better player, most improved player in the league. But they got bounced by the Cavaliers like 4 straight years. They couldn't do anything. And then Kawhi just comes in and like resurrects this franchise.
Puts them on their back.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, I think he proved himself as the best player in the world during this past All-Star game, when they named the MVP award after Kobe, and everybody in the game was going for that MVP award, and he's the one that won it. That was pretty much my deciding factor on why he got it over LeBron, which is maybe weird that I put an All-Star game up to that, but whatever. It's my list. Mike, I think I know who you have for number 1.
Yeah, I think he deserves a max contract. It's Draymond. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Draymond Green. Listen, Draymond, if you're listening to this, you suck. You don't deserve a max contract. Yes, you do have the fact that you do have a triple-double without any points in the history of the NBA, but you don't deserve to be on this list, let alone top 15. But yes, Matt, it is Alex. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Alex Caruso. It's LeBron James. Trent has said he's a fun player to watch, an amazing player to watch. Certainly one of the things where, we watched the Last Dance documentary, and some spices and some little trinkets of MJ are certainly ruminating with LeBron James during his career as an NBA player. So I don't think there's anything more to say about LeBron, but I think I took the bandwagon approach and put him at number 1, but I will stand at him being number 1.
Yeah, I almost had him at 1. It's a toss up when you get up to the top players. You can make an argument for anyone to be number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have like an honorable mention that almost made the list? Like I said, I'd probably had Joel Embiid at 11, and then if he was healthy, I'd probably have Klay Thompson 10.
I have an honorable mention. Like Michael said, I had a Vince Carter at 10 or 11, but I just feel like what he's done with his career, even though he hasn't got a championship, I feel like he's definitely changed the game in a way, in his own way. So that's a honorable mention.
Yeah. No, I have like Paul George and Chris Paul too. For the magic that he has with Chris Paul.
No.
I think that. So
yeah. What?
But
no.
How do you say no?
No. Chris Paul is, listen, great guy. He's the leader of the Players Association. His career is so overrated. He's done nothing. Nothing. I understand he didn't have anything in New Orleans. He had so much talent with the Clippers, and he was supposed to be the leader. They never even got to the Western Conference Finals. They had Doc Rivers as the coach, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. Like, he's done nothing. The only time he's played in the Western Conference Finals is when he was riding on James Harden's coattails. No.
I feel like he's a Vince Carter shadow in a way. But Vince Carter definitely accomplished a lot more with, like, the dunk contest and everything. But
that's fair.
But, yeah. I see what you're saying, though.
Those are our top 10 lists. Trent, we appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Thank you. I had fun doing this, even though it got a little controversial at times. I had a lot of fun making the list and talking about it. So thank you.
So I think we can say you're now a residential NBA expert. So whenever we want you to come on, you have to.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, sir. All right.
Okay, moving on to our final segment. You all know what it is. It is Take It. Last week, we put out the poll for pineapple on pizza. It was all over the place. The Twitter poll, I believe, said yes. Facebook poll said no. So once again, no one can determine. Well, I can determine because I had the right answer that pineapple does belong on pizza. But this week, I don't know if this is like an actual debate, but this is something that I don't want to say I feel passionate about because it's a stupid topic, but it's one that I feel very strongly about. So, cheesecake. Is it a pie or is it a cake? You look disappointed in me right now.
It's just like Matt.
But think about it. Is it a pie or is it a cake?
It's a cake.
Why?
Matt, you said it's a cheesecake. It has the word cake in it.
That doesn't mean it's a cake.
Okay. Let me hear your take on why it's a pie.
All right. Does cake have a crust? No. Do cheesecakes have crust? Yes.
Cakes can have a crust sometimes.
What cake has a crust?
Listen, I've been exposed to many delicious, decadent desserts.
Cakes don't have crust. They just don't.
They can.
No, but they don't. You don't make a cake with a crust.
Okay, but like, so why is it called a cheesecake then?
I don't have the answer to that question. I don't know the origin of the name cheesecake.
So what do we call it? A cheese?
Should be called a cheese pie.
A cheese pie? That does not sound appropriate.
Well,
Matt.
They might not call it a cheese pie because of pizza. You know, the cheese pie. My point number 2 on why cheesecake is a pie. You can't put frosting on a pie.
Yeah, like you
don't put frosting on cheesecake, but cake has frosting.
Let me put it this way: appropriately, yes, you can't put cake. You can't put. You said frosting on a cake.
You can't put frosting on a pie. Like you don't put frosting on cheesecake because it's a pie, but you like who normal people put frosting on cake.
Normal people. Unless that's a frostless cake.
Well, then you could have like an apple spice cake or something like that.
I just, Matt, I think lines are blurred here when it comes to the proper definition, and I just think for whenever I have had a cheesecake or some type of form of cheesecake, like it has come in the form of a cake. Like, yeah, I mean, it comes in separate ways, and you slice it up, and then you start to lose the validity of whether it is a cake or a pie. But at least to me, it's pretty straightforward. It's called a cheesecake. It should be a cake. Oh, I'm going to have some cake. So, like, put it this way. If this food, let's just call it a food. That way it, kind of goes away from the word cheesecake. Mm-hmm. If there was a shelf for pies and a shelf for cakes, do you think people would be looking in the cheesecake, in the cake section or the pie section for this dessert?
They should be looking in the pie section because cheesecake is a pie.
I would be so surprised if people are like, "Where's the cheesecake? It should be in the pie section." Like,
it should be. It's a pie. The consistency of a cheesecake is similar to a pie than it is a cake.
I kind of have to. I feel like wait. I'm gonna text somebody that knows a lot about food. It's not Jenna. I would reach out to Jenna, but certainly someone else.
I didn't authorize this.
No, I'm phoning a friend, Matt. This is ridiculous. So
you need to phone a friend because you're wrong.
Is cheesecake a pie or a cake? Matt, have you ever made a cheesecake in your life?
I've seen my mom make a cheesecake.
That's exactly who I'm going to, is my mother. I just texted my mother saying, is cheesecake a pie or a cake? But again, here's my thing. You put a pie section and a cake section, people are going to be looking for the cheesecake in the cake section because it literally says cake in the word. It's cake. Cake.
Don't listen.
Cake.
Let me throw some wisdom at you, all right?
Oh, because you haven't thrown enough wisdom at me, Matt.
Don't let societal norms tell you what a cheesecake is. Just because it says cake doesn't mean it's a cake. It has a crust. It doesn't have frosting. The consistency is more like a pie. Ergo, cheesecake is a pie.
Matt, I'm still waiting on my mother, but I just no. I feel like my mama called.
I didn't expect this to take this turn.
Well, listen, Matt. It's the same. Like, no.
Yeah, that's all you say is no. It's called cheesecake.
Because
it should be a cake.
I don't think my argument could be any more valid than literally saying, "What is the name?"
I just spit straight facts at you why it's a pie.
Okay, because you need a crust for a pie. What if I made a crustless pie? Is it a cake then?
But yes. But, no, I'm not gonna say that. But you don't make cake doesn't have crust. It just doesn't. The one exception where a cake has a crust, but it's still a cake, is ice cream cake because ice cream cake has frosting.
And technically, I hate to admit, Matt, sometimes it doesn't have to have frosting.
Then that's a bad ice cream cake.
Well, technically you haven't.
But that's
you haven't had any ice cream cakes that I've made when I owned the ice cream business way back when. So
okay, Mr. Professional,
Mr. Entrepreneur over here.
No, there's nothing about cheesecake that makes it a cake. It
literally says cake, Matt.
But again, just because it says cake doesn't mean it's a cake.
So. No, I'm not going to bring it up because it could possibly be another Take It segment for the following week, and I'm not responsible for that segment. So I'm just going to leave the food and the Take It's and your obvious wrongdoings on your side of the house because, again, my case is they wouldn't call it a cake if it's not called a cheesecake.
But we don't know who named it a cheesecake.
All right. Let's do some Googling now because I'm not again, ladies and gentlemen, I said at the beginning of the show, definition of a cake. All right.
Lay it on me.
So, an item of soft, sweet food made from a mixture of flour, shortening, eggs, sugar, and other ingredients, baked and often decorated.
Interesting.
Pie definition.
Interesting.
A baked pie, a baked dish of fruit or meat and vegetables, typically with a top and base pastry. So, comparing, Mr. Summers, to those two definitions, is cake sweet?
Yeah.
Cheesecake, I should say. Cheesecake.
Cheesecake is sweet, yes.
So,
is it made with flour?
but I think what I'm getting at here is
that's
cakes.
Like a main ingredient. I don't know. That's a pretty main ingredient.
Oh, I literally see here definition of cake. People also ask, what does cake mean on TikTok?
Yeah, I'm not going to discuss that. That is that's not even a ticket segment for another day. That's just not a topic for forever.
Forever. Well, Matt, I hate to cut it short, but I think I'm just going to keep saying it literally says cheesecake. It says cake in the word itself. So
I'm just going to tell you are wrong.
All right. Well, and you know what else we're going to tell everybody? We're going to tell everybody to go on our social media and talk. Let us know exactly who is right. Is cheesecake a pie or a cake? And I really think this is not going to be the definitive unanimous answer like we've gotten with some of our Take It segments. So,
yeah, I don't think I'm going to have the support of people, but I know I'm right. So.
Well, speaking of being right, make sure you rate us 5 stars if you are on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you are sharing this on your Spotify account. Make sure you share it with friends, family, wherever it may go, because we're still going strong. And to those who watched our video for today for the first time, thank you so much for watching our somewhat good haircuts or obviously ridiculous haircuts and welcoming you into our homes and our places. And until next time, guys, we'll see you next time.
Stay safe, everyone.